Reportedly, LeBron James is now leading the charge to recruit several American superstars to join Team USA for the Paris Olympics next summer. Reportedly interested are Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, to name only a...
Speaking of Steph Curry, what do you think about Steph Curry joining the 2024 Olympic U.S. super team that they're trying to build?
It seems like this is all amounted after the two recent underperformances from Team USA. As we saw with the Dream Team and the Redeem Team, they both had career-defining performances for the U.S. on this big stage. So I definitely think this amounted due to these underperformances. This is why LeBron is now saying he's recruiting, showing interest to other big stars, because this is why Team USA and FIBA, unfortunately, did not medal. They had no superstars on the team. They all had emerging stars, emerging superstars. Yeah. They had Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson. Unfortunately, though, they didn't have that voice in the locker room. They didn't have a leader, for one, a vocal leader. They didn't have that veteran in the locker room. They were all young players.
Right.
No superstar. Other teams, for example, Canada, they had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the youngest superstars.
Was really killing it for Canada.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks was doing his thing, though. Even though he's the villain.
yeah, absolutely. But I definitely think that due to them not medaling, them underperforming this time. So I definitely think that LeBron recruiting, trying to bring in players like Steph Curry, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, that would definitely bring Team USA back to prominence on a global stage. And I definitely think it seems very promising.
I saw so I'm always on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And I saw something along the lines of Kyle Kuzma reaching out to people, not reaching out to people, but saying we need vets and stuff. So something along those lines. And D-Book said, I'll do it. So as in him committing, which is just giving a sign.
I just had a conversation with one of my friends prior to the start of this podcast mentioning exactly what you just said, how they need somebody to fill these roles. You got to understand, you can have as much talent in the world as you want, but everyone has to be accepting of their roles. Yeah. LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, all predominant ball handlers, all predominant players that the offense runs in and through them, the team runs in and through them. Obviously, this is one team, multiple stars. So everyone has to understand their role, understand who's going to be bringing the ball up the court, who's initiating the offense, who's going to be sitting in the corner for the catch and shoot. Everybody has to be understanding, willing, and accepting of their roles in order to get success at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think I just really liked what you said in terms about having a veteran or a leader on this USA team. If they definitely had that, they could have went farther. They could have beat Canada. They could have beat Germany. Austin Reeves was showing out. Ant-Man was showing out. But that just wasn't enough when it came down to it. They really needed someone to just rally them together and keep them going further. But yeah, everybody's talking about Schroeder and his MVP moment and just leading Germany to their first title. So how do you feel about Schroeder and how he's been doing? Do you feel like he is one of the best players in the world now that he has won that MVP title?
That's a funny conversation. So I definitely think in terms of the NBA, he's definitely one of the premier backup point guards. He's shown that time and time again. He's won a championship with the Lakers. I'm not sure if he's won any other ones, but he's definitely, for his whole career, he's been a prominent backup point guard. He's one of the more familiar role players in the league. He definitely did his thing out there. He definitely did. He gave the USA a run for their money. Definitely, he put on a show, and they had a couple of guys. If I'm not mistaken, they had the Wagner. I don't know how they're related, but they had Franz Wagner, Mo Wagner, I believe, and they had Daniel Theis. Forgive me if I'm saying the names wrong, but they had some NBA players on their team. No stars.
Just role players.
Yeah, they have role players. But that's the thing. Back to my point, like I said earlier, you can have all the stars in the world, all the talent in the world. If you're not accepting of your role, if you're not on the same page, if there's not ample communication, things unfortunately may not go as intended. And I definitely think Germany, Canada, these teams that beat the USA, they definitely turned heads because most people were expecting the U.S. to go way further than they unfortunately
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody was expecting the U.S. to medal, maybe one or two.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at least make it to the finals.
Yeah, they didn't even bronze.
Yeah.
Come on now. I don't know. It's unacceptable, but the thing is too, there was also a lot of politics going on, for example, with Trae Young. Trae Young, he made it vocal that he wanted to play on Team USA. However, they did not invite him to play. I believe there was a selection. I may be incorrect when I say this. There was a selection of X amount of players. They were invited to come. I don't know if it was a tryout or workout, whatever it is. And then from then, they cut that in half, cut another half, so from 50 to then 25 to then about the 12 or so players that they have now.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even on the 50 that were invited or that they were chosen. What is the consideration play? Long story short, is because this is just theory, but it's because USA is a Nike sponsored organization.
Right.
He's with Adidas. Most of the players on Team USA, Nike athletes or not with major athletic
brands.
athletic brands.
Competitors.
So exactly. So with that being said, that was just a conspiracy, a theory as to why he wasn't. But there might be some behind the scenes things we don't know about. Maybe something going on with Grant Hill, et cetera, et cetera. But that would have been a star. He's a superstar. I don't think he would have made that much of a difference, if I'm being honest. But he definitely would have been somebody who would have maybe accelerated their chances to a little more greater extent.
Yeah.
And also, he, as we were talking about before, with the veteran presence, Trae Young could have been that voice in the locker room potentially.
Yeah,
I feel like
he has around the same years, a couple more years compared to these other guys. Because the oldest guy I think on the team, if I'm not mistaken, is Jalen Brunson, and another player is around his same age. But all these guys are young. They're just in the starts of their career, not even in their primes yet. Like I said, they're all stars, emerging stars.
Definitely emerging stars, definitely showing out. I just wanted to segue into that and talk a little bit more about how do you feel like their performances are going to transfer into the regular season.
Oh, so specifically speaking, Anthony Edwards was the best player on Team USA by far.
Right.
This whole World Cup. I definitely think he was toppling off from last season. First All-Star selection. Performed well in the FIBA. Going into this season. I think he's going to have a promising season. I know before last season, he made the claims, I believe, that he was going to be an MVP candidate or win MVP. Honestly, I don't see that happening this season. But listen, anything can happen. I definitely think he's in for another breakout year. And yeah, he keeps killing the competition. Austin Reeves, too, he just signed a max deal. He performed well last year. This FIBA World Cup, he played well again. His stats should receive a boost, definitely.
Yeah, Reeves definitely has a promising future. And if we just want to talk a little bit more about Shai, SGA, and how he's about to have a good season. I'm feeling like he's gonna have a great season.
Absolutely. He was MVP candidate last year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he led the league in scoring champion. SGA is definitely a superstar. Back to the FIBA, they had a superstar in him. USA did not. SGA is definitely one of the premier young talents in the league. Yeah,
I think OKC is about to have they watch out for OKC. Don't count them out this season. Let's just see how that goes.
Yeah, they got Jalen Williams. They got Chet Holmgren back from injury this season. Josh Giddey. They're definitely a young core, and they're well rounded. They have pieces for every aspect you could think of,
especially on the defense. Luke Dort's on the team, right?
Yeah,
he's a great defender.
Absolutely.
He's been one of the better defenders in the league over the last few seasons. I believe.
Yeah, he's definitely a premier defender in the league. You got the superstar with the voice in the locker room in Shea. We also have premier defender Lou Jones. You got Chet Holmgren, who has a major potential, a high ceiling. Jalen Williams, I believe he won Rookie of the Year or came just short of it 2 years ago, last year. So there's definitely a lot of potential that a young core has. There's a lot of young cores in the league, though, that are showing promise. The Magic, Houston, but I would definitely argue Oklahoma City.
I feel like they're going to make a lot of noise this year, especially, as you said before, with their roster. It's insanely young. They're led by SGA. The Thunder with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the young core that they got going on. Do you think the same thing could happen with the Rockets?
Here's the thing with young cores. When they don't have a veteran presence, things tend to go left. We've seen this with Charlotte. It seems like we're seeing this to some extent with Houston now. They just picked up Dylan Brooks, but everybody sees him as a villain. Nobody really likes him in the league. He hasn't gotten into anything off the court that's detrimental, but on the court, he's not the most liked person, for one. There was just a report with Kevin Porter Jr. Disclaimer, this is all allegations, but he...
Allegedly.
Allegedly. He was just arrested for... He laid hands on his wife, to keep it short.
Houston Rockets point guard Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, WNBA player Kaiser Gondrezick.
Like I said, this is allegedly, but he's also been known to have attitude problems
anger issues
in the past. Let's just say that. Fred VanVleet definitely could be a presence in that locker room that could help bring a new culture, positive culture to Houston. Right now, he's the best player on that team, along with Jalen Green. Jalen Green is a phenomenal young star.
Amazing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he did well with the G League Ignite just a couple years ago. He has a very high ceiling, but like this team is just so young, and Fred VanVleet is looking like that veteran presence that really has to take control of the locker room. But it takes an army. It takes everybody to be fully in on what they're trying to build there. It takes everybody to be fully engaged in winning, and he just has to instill that in the younger guys.
100%. Like, as you were saying before, like with all the young guys, Jabari Smith is also there as well, along with Alprince Şengün, I believe his name is.
Yeah, he has a lot of potential.
Yeah. And they just got Amin Thompson, like just drafted him. So
amazing
that's
defender.
Really great to see him play. Like I said, just a lot of young talent on this team. It's just about like finding someone to like bring them together and just like bring that out of them a little bit more. So yeah,
I definitely think Fred VanVleet is going to be that voice. But I think that Dylan Brooks is going to be the one really advocating for it, like trying to be like, yo, let's go, let's do this down the third. So I definitely think there's promise. Let's just see how the season goes. But as far as young cores go, they're promising the Thunder, the Spurs. Charlotte, it's a little rocky, but things are going. The Magic, Paolo Banchero, he just showed out in FIBA. He did his little thing here and there. Yeah, so things are going. The NBA, the young stars in the NBA look promising. This was a promising draft class. Thompson Twins, Scoop, Wembanyama, a lot of promising pieces.